recording. Okay, today is June 12, 2012. It's a Wednesday. I'm Roxanne Grinage, the founder and 13-year demonstrator of a standard access mechanism. Standard access to what? Legal assistant, marketing, careers, project manager services for a previously unaccommodated, unmeasured population of claimants and work product career U.S. economy enriching careers contributions. I'm Roxanne Grinage, manager of HireLyrics Administrative Services and U.S. Citizens Control Public Docket Database. I'm rushed today as usual, but I wanted to get in this teaching segment video where I give some updates about our standard, our official policies, HireLyrics official policies regarding certain things, and also sharing some administrative solutions for gathering your evidence. In fact, I should have got this ready. Keep the camera where it is. I gotta get this checklist. Yeah. Okay, first, let me get this out of the way. There's a person named Bill Windsor, okay, and he's approached several people about being involved in his movie project. HireLyrics has an official policy which is the pinnacle of our practice model. The pinnacle of our practice model is to achieve fair recognition, fair compensation. It's been like that since 2000, and it simply doesn't change. A standard access practice model does not change according to someone's convenience or an individual agenda. What changes the activities and positioning of the practice model and our practices, our policies, is the momentum of the client contributor population being serviced. So Bill Windsor is neither a client nor a collaborator of HireLyrics Administrative Services, and HireLyrics issued an official policy statement as a result of several people associated with HireLyrics asking for my opinion as to whether or not they should give him all this personal information and data that he was asking for to be in his movie project. And HireLyrics responded with a standard policy statement about two-way accountability. Anybody, any professional service, any collaborator, any personal or business relationship that's asking you for contribution should be accountable as to what they're going to do with that contribution, how they're going to safeguard that contribution, where they're going to market and expose that contribution, and what is the mutually beneficial, fair recognition, fair compensation, if any. So when Bill Windsor responded to my request for accountability questions as to where are you going to market this, how are you going to account for the security of asking for people's employers' information, how are you going to stop CPS corruption victims already victimized by job loss and defamation in the community from losing their jobs. Bill Windsor came, by giving you their employer information, Bill Windsor came back with a slave master mentality and had an all-out defamation tirade where he lumped Roxanne Grinage in with some other very accomplished community leaders in their own right, Paul, Mitchell, Andrew, one of them, and just inflicted defamation upon us, said things that were not true. And when I issued the blog journal entry, The Tragedy When a Judicial Corruption Activist Character Assassinates His Peers to Avoid Accountability Questions, these people came forward, these other accomplished people came forward and shared with us their prior experience with Bill Windsor, where he was more than happy to accept, as long as it was free, to tap and glean and gather the expertise, the resources, the benefit from the relationships, give the pretense of having a relationship with our collaborations and constituencies, well-earned, hard-built. So that page is at HireLyrics.org. It's a case study page. We demonstrate a U.S. Citizens Control Public Docket Database on prototype scale, of course, right? It's a global entity that once realized you can't talk about using the internet technologies without being globally accommodating. So we demonstrate a working scale prototype model of how individual accountability can be measured along with work ethic, synergy, and intent, whether or not the person was just incompetent or they were malicious. And that page is titled Administrative Solutions for Troubleshooting Defamation. So we are all under the gun to get our work done and to be in productive, effective processes. So we don't have a lot of time. Our time is precious, but we have to stop and troubleshoot people who would cause us harm. All right. And Bill Windsor, let me say this officially. HireLyrics has nothing to do with Bill Windsor, and I have 3 people right now asking me to design some type of form where we can gather their complaints against his cyber stalking. Some people call him a snake oil salesman, to protect their copyrights to their CPS corruption and government stories. I have a consultant agreement, but there's a publisher's marketing agreement in my consultant agreement. But I perform services for many people outside of consultant agreement. So I'm coming up with a form that allow me to authorize me to sue Bill Windsor on our behalf for infringing upon our copyrights to our story. Which reminds me, this is a total separate issue, something very good, beneficial. Mr. Coleman, Robert Coleman, is one of those civil rights heroes that have emerged from the ranks of working class, student impoverished Americans to be a new civil rights hero. Where there is a new civil rights movement, you better believe you will see new civil rights heroes. He has authored a book, The Enemy of the State. It's 548 pages. It's available on Nook Download at Barnes & Noble. He's from Michigan. Look on my Michigan New Civil Rights Heroes case study page, Michigan Families New Civil Rights case studies page, and you will see a link to where you can download that book. I would like to thank Mr. Coleman for giving me a courtesy copy of the book. Thank you very much. I'm going to do a full and enthusiastic review after I complete the book. And of course, we're going to respect his copyrights to the book as much as we want our copyrights respected to our stories and our verified evidence gathered. www.hirelyrics.org, Michigan Families, a new civil rights heroes. Okay, this is an administrative solution tool. The HireLyrics checklist, fact sheet, discovery, Children's Protective Services, agency employees malpractice. Look back here. You see, we always talk about speaking as a voter constituency. You say, what does my victimization have to do with a voter constituency or a campaign? It has everything to do with it if you're similarly situated. Claims aren't just similarly situated in court venues. Community needs are similarly situated. Community needs power. The federal crime victim voter statement is, if one of us should fall, or 10 of us should fall, or 100 of us should fall, we will have a community needs power, personality independent mechanism in place which will automatically trigger the rescue of children of all ages. You've seen almost forever, I guess 2 years now, my design of logo for DHS Demonic Horror Stories. A new civil rights movement is underway in these United States. Families fight back, say no more DHS Demonic Horror Stories. And my design of logo was, of course, the letters, the acronym DHS, with the evil clowns and the Grim Reaper and Satan and everything, because that's what, and the conjurer in the background doing evil and demonic works, because nothing could be more lower powered and satanic than that which separates and breaks up families and deprives the most innocent, defenseless person, a child, of its nurture, of its parents, its nurturers, its protectors. So this is where we demonstrated that it has nothing to do with whether or not you're male, female, father, mother, grandparent, a police officer, a transportation worker, what part of the country you're from, what gender you are, what lifestyle you are, chosen or otherwise, what your sexual orientation is, what your religion is, what your race is. It doesn't really matter if you have a head and a torso, regardless of your age, regardless of whether or not you're disabled, regardless of whether or not you're aging and elderly, you are a target for billability of Department of Human Services contractor providers. So I debuted a couple days ago, I posted it on Facebook and on my website, on the Alaska Families New Civil Rights Heroes case study page, the new Alaska OCS logo, which is a design of using it sends a similar satanic message of what OCS is representing, the genocide of the Alaska people in kidnap for profit genocide of Alaska people, including elderly, and especially elderly and children in Alaska OCS. And I use deliberately zombie hands and a scary creepy pumpkin because that is what Alaska OCS has become. And the logo always is the forerunner to say where we are headed, where we are going. We are going towards class action claims. The people of Alaska will verse the state of Alaska OCS, Office of Children's Services, for what? Not civil rights violations, but personal injuries, disabilities, and wrongful death. Okay, so this form right here is an administrative solution. It's on my homepage. Look for a form marked HireLyrics Checklist, Fact Sheet. They're just 2 forms. They're big links. The verbiage that describes the links is big. It's the first one is this form, and this I share freely because this is what I developed in taking on your claims intake and what the questions I realized after I hung up the phone. Oh, I should have asked them this. I should have asked them that. How do I get a file started on this person? How do I report what I have verified about this person, about these claims? So this is the checklist of information that anyone who knows that they have been victimized by a state court malpractice proceeding for whatever reason, corruption, incompetence, records mismanagement, starts to pull together these components of information. What was the date and month when an agency investigator of any kind came into your life? And a couple of blocks for that. And identifying the agency location, the official street address, their fax number, because these people are going to be certified served with notices of claim, notices of damage. It's not just the federal court, the district courts, and your state court where you go into for your appeals and your claims for damages. There's the Department of Justice claim for damages, Form 95, damages, personal injuries, disability, and wrongful death caused by the employees of a federally funded agency. And that's what Department of Human Services and OCS and DHS and DFS are. Okay? So this allows you to put down the attorneys that were involved, whether they're supposedly appointed or on your side or not on your side. Because when you plug these components of information in, just on this sheet alone, you'll begin to see the connecting of relationships. Many of them are conflict of interest relationships. Many of them are ethics violations according to whoever they report to, either the state licensing board, the bar association. And those individual complaint and disciplinary action forms become exhibits in your complaints and in your motions to continue. Motions to continue why? Incompetent, insufficient counsel. I had hardship. I need an extension for a motion. Go and learn the rules, the local rules of your state court. And many of them, all of them have pro se case initiation forms and pro se forms that can be used by people that don't have attorney representation. And make sure you're talking to that venue is always compliant with those forms and those local rules, and you'll see that you're able to tell that court, put it on record, not for justice, not for necessary justice, but for keeping the dockets open, for slowing up and delaying those illegal adoptions and transporting our children while to the people who would purchase them through illegal adoptions and to get the adoption tax credit and defraud IRS. Keep the dockets open. Exercise every appeals process. Show where your court-appointed or agency-employed lawyer was, in fact, not just in conflict of interest, but insufficient, incompetent counsel. If your lawyer wrote you a letter and you have that in email, or you have the letter and the lawyer saying, well, I know you weren't served, and I know, but you better, never mind, don't go to your child's doctor's appointment. You better come to court because I know you weren't served with the rule of cause order. However, they're going to put a bench warrant out for you. If your own attorney is telling you that, that means your attorney is deficient of filing the motions that he or she needs to file on your behalf. And you have a claim if you attach that as an exhibit to the court saying motion stay, motion continue. I have insufficient counsel. I have had the hardship of erroneous counsel by unethical counsel. And you attach that person's letter, that lawyer's letter to you, and you also attach your complaint form as an exhibit that you are moving forward to record that as building blocks in your future anticipated claims, every process. Crime victim compensation, your federal pro se lawsuit, and yes, class actions. Okay. I want to show you this. I keep talking about ordering every order and action that happened from the time the case opened, whoever opened the case, if it was a CPS worker opened a petition or a divorce petition or whatever it was, whatever opened that, a custody complaint, whatever opened that case, start with that, and every order thereafter, every emergency petition thereafter, every motion thereafter, put it in chronological order. Individually, don't try to dissect it. Don't try to redact it. Like if an order looks like it wasn't in your favor, or it's like, oh, you were arrested or you were in contempt. Don't take that out, because the true rendition of the whole chronological order of everything that really happened in this case history, when it's plugged into the data banks, plugged into the cells, is going to show denials of due process, conspiracy, cover-up, legal malpractice of the state statutes, which violated the federal statutes, and it's going to show criminal behavior of child abusers that weren't just the people inflicting the child abuse, but those who were required by the state statutes to report child abuse. It's going to show that there is a need for criminal action against certain court practitioners and social workers. Okay? So put everything in order, chronological order, regardless of how you feel about it. Put it in chronological order and get that. If you're your legal assistant, get it to your legal assistant. If you have an attorney that's competent, you trust your attorney, get it to your attorney. All right? But I tell everybody, don't waste any time on denying the fact that your attorney's not in your corner. We don't have time for that anymore. All right? Usually family court attorneys, there are some really pretty courageous family court attorneys. All right? So I don't want to speak about any group or generalize about any group. I can say this, though, that I'm committed passionately to the instruments and tools that measure individual accountability. So when the data is plugged in, personality independent, let it speak for itself. Who dropped the ball, who was malicious, or who was incompetent. And many attorneys, especially child advocates, are appointed on a court-appointed attorney wheel, and they get like $300 just to look over that case, just to represent that case. And that's why so much child abuse goes on under their watch, under the child advocate attorney's watch, is because they are hard-pressed and overwhelmed, and they have to go make their bread and butter, and of course they go to the paying client. So this is commercially driven, and we are looking for ways to remain compliant, lawful, but not sacrificing being aggressive. Do not expect anyone to fight for your heritage, health, freedom, career, education, and future harder than you will. This is our bloodline. All right, and then there's the how to identify in petitioning the removal of judges, how you can go into grassroots community, education by conversation. I mean, in print first, by classified ad first, followed up by going in person into our neighborhoods and our communities and actually identify the similarly situated victims of a particular judge, particularly a state court judge. Remember what the U.S. Marshal told me on March 8th. He told it in front of 51 people. I think 13 heard it, right? Said it to my husband. I know something is very, very wrong. However, you cannot fight a state judge in his own jurisdiction. You really ought to do something about that. And that's when I recognized this has nothing to do with right and wrong. This has nothing to do with justice. This has to do with agendas. Okay? So you have to find the people that have an agenda to remove this judge. And these people are not positioned to reach you. You have to reach them. So you start with a classified ad, $29.99, $39.99 online. It runs about 4 weeks, depending on what city you're in, and in your major newspapers. It's cheaper to run it online than it is in print. And you say, the victims of Judge Robert J. Matthews, if your family or somebody you know has been hurt by Judge Robert J. Matthews, or name your judge. All right? Please contact me as I give you contact information. Then when they contact you, you take their information, you take their docket information, you verify that it's true to make sure that it is a verifiable claim, that it's not somebody who's personality driven and their agenda is not what your agenda is to remove a corrupt judge that's harming a lot of people sadistically, okay, in domestic relations matters. Then you take your petition forms, put 12 signatures on a sheet, and you take them in to the neighborhoods where these people are, in the check cashing places, the barbershops, the laundromats, and in that zip code, you take them in and you get their signatures and you tell them it's okay to write the names of your minor children on here and their ages as well. Okay? And you could put that in the record of what? Every single filing. You match it up with the court reform, the American Bar Association litigant surveys where this judge got D minus and F ratings on judicial accountability, professionalism, knowledge, judicial knowledge. And you go, and many of you have judges that if you look them up on Google, a courthouse form will come up, and other people have complained about them already as litigants. So you take all of that, you put it together, and it becomes an exhibit to what? Not just court filings, but to help others. I tell everybody, don't bother doing any of this if you're not going to publish it. Please don't. It's a waste of time and a waste of effort. Okay, just publish everything so other people come sailing through, would never think to look your name up, but they are definitely hurt by this particular judge or this particular lawyer, and they need to find the word extortion, child abuse, sadism, bribe around their names. They need to see it so that they can come and see, wait, here's somebody else that has data against this judge. What do we want data for that's jurisdiction specific? So we can talk to special prosecutors, our state legislators, our funding decision makers. We can talk to them by due diligence reports, giving them our evidence modules. Then here's a cover letter. Do cover letters to the clerk of court for, this is the cover letter for the motion of the June 8th motion to modify custody. In the case of my grandchildren, where Sandra O'Sullivan and Eric L. Brown and Sandra O'Sullivan's family, Diane Kearney and Linwood Kearney, and a convicted rapist, Sheldon Holloway, age 37, have been getting away with a crime spree that includes child abuse, but a whole bunch of other stuff too. So they pretty much destroyed my grandchildren, and we do a cover letter to the court saying that why is this criminal, this fugitive, she's a mob assault fugitive, why did you allow her to come in here on April 30th and petition for custody of her victims, Roxanne Grinage's children? And while you're at it, please file my court-compliant petition to modify custody with exhibits showing that they owe us $350,000 to $550,000 in damages, because these expert reports say this is what happens when children are deprived of their nurturers, separation trauma injured, and housed with convicted rapists and violent thug people, Diane Kearney and Linwood Kearney. And what we attach to it is our press release to law enforcement, Pennsylvania Attorney General. You do everything as a building block. It's not either or. You pull everything together and you make sure the active links are available there. So yes, in the court filing, we printed and put it in the court filing. All right. Don't be discouraged by the court clerks who says, oh, usually a petition for, which happened to me, so usually a petition to modify custody is 1 and 1.5 pages. I said, in this case, there has been so much legal malpractice. We have the proof that their perjury caused the legal malpractice. And now this judge, administrative judge, Kevin M. Doherty, is going to have to explain why he allows these criminals to perpetrate a crime spree in his state court. All right, he's just going to have to explain it to the people of Philadelphia and hopefully to the Department of Justice. Okay, then I want to tell you about the notices of subpoenas that are available through your state court. There's blue and red. There's friendly subpoenas with people who are more than happy to come and talk on your behalf. And there's red subpoenas where you may not even want them to come and talk as much as you want to demand the records. Demand the Department of Human Services records. These subpoenas are certified by the clerk of court. Different states have different laws, so check it out. Many insist that you have to get one of these subpoenas, it has to be an open case or a case that was an appeal or something like that. So Make sure you don't waste any time on subpoenaing your records, okay? The Department of Justice Claim Form 95 has great instructions for serving and subpoenaing records as well. Gives you 3 years and everything, so keep that in mind as well. The family court is not the only option for subpoenaing records from DHS. All right, I guess I'll let you guys go now. I gotta run. Thank you so much for putting up with me again. I love you guys, and God bless, and strongest prayers. Don't forget to talk as a voter constituency. Federal crime victim voters cross party lines. Fair voting. We cross party lines. Send a clear message. Send a clear message. We don't really care you're Republican, Democrat, Tea Party, Independent. We want to know whether or not you recognize that corruption in government and kidnap for profit is killing our American family, our American businesses, and our U.S. economy and states' economies. Do you recognize that? Because we are a tragically far too large voter constituency having significant voter concerns, and we would like you to please address them. Thank you so much. God bless everybody. Talk to you later. Bye.